We've talked about St. John Eudes' teaching that Christian life is a continuation and fulfillment of the life of Jesus, and that ordinary Christians like ourselves are tasked with being other Christs on earth. This week, I'd like to talk about the how-tos of this teaching. I'll begin with a quote from St. John Eudes. "It should be your desire, your care, and your chief occupation to form Jesus in you, to make him live and reign in you together with his spirit, his devotion, his virtues, his sentiments, his inclinations, and his dispositions. This should be the aim of all your good works." Today, there's the popular phrase, "What would Jesus do?" But John Eudes' teaching means much more than this. It's not just a matter of doing what we think he would do, but of letting him be formed in us so that Jesus himself can act in us. But how exactly does this happen? St. John Eudes instructed the people who attended his missions to keep their eyes and their minds fixed on Jesus, because he said, "There is hardly any action of your ordinary lives that does not find some counterpart in the actions he performed during his time on earth. Do you work, rest, pray, and eat? So did Jesus. Do you spend time with family and friends? So did he. Do you sometimes experience fatigue, frustration, or misunderstandings? So did Jesus. Jesus is formed in us when we keep his example in our minds, when we study his ways and try to conform our behavior to his." But St. John Eudes also taught that we should keep our hearts fixed on Jesus. He wrote, "We need to acquire the habit of lifting up our hearts to Jesus out of love and doing all our actions for pure love of him." The third way we can form Jesus in us is by dying to ourselves. Now that's a tough one, but it's Lent after all. This means that we detach ourselves from everything in this world that threatens to take us away from God, so that we'll no longer seek to please or possess anyone but him. We have to say no to everything that is contrary to Jesus and let him live and reign in us. The fourth way that we form Jesus in us is by having recourse to the power of grace and to the prayers of the Blessed Virgin Mary and the saints, because by ourselves we can't do it. So in order to form Jesus in us and continue his life, we need to keep him in our minds and hearts, get rid of everything in our lives that's not compatible with him, count on God's grace, and look to Mary and the saints for help. Here are a few concrete suggestions. In our day, we have easy access to scripture and excellent books about the life of Jesus. Daily meditation on these books and the Gospels will form our minds to think like Jesus. The Rosary is also a good way to meditate on Jesus' life. Gazing on a crucifix or an image of the Sacred Heart, making the Stations of the Cross, or even listening more attentively at Mass can remind us of how Jesus gave his life for us. These things should inflame our hearts with greater love for him. These are just a few of the ways we can work on forming Jesus in us this week.